Okay, this goes out to my students in the Envisioning Sustainability class and anybody else who's trying to learn ArcGIS Pro for the first time for landscape modeling. We're going to apply this to Morocco. So let me get started here. When you open up ArcGIS Pro, you have this interface here, and we're going to start by making a map. And we'll call this map, I'm going to call it the High Atlas River in city, what's her name? Fatima. That's the name of the village. So that's what I'm going to make. And let's see what happens now. It should open a map. Yep. And this is the first thing that you're going to see. You're going to have a new map open, and it's, of course, biased toward the United States of America, the world hegemon, the empire. And so when you load the map, then it's like, of course, watching grass grow. Okay, so there's the map, and it's biased on here. So the first thing that we want to do with this map is we want to find a place on the map, and we are using a base map, which is fine. So let us move. Well, that's an identification thing. You use the left mouse button, and let's move over to Morocco, and you can see the area that we're going to work with. But how do you find it by itself without having to move over in case you don't know where the place is? Then what you're going to do is, so to find the place, regardless of where you are in the world, we're going to go to these binoculars up here under map, because there are many different headings. So it starts in map, but in case it wasn't on map, go back to map and go over to the locate button. Click on there, and then we can put in city and then Fatima. And if you spelled it right, I didn't. There it is, City Fatima Al Houz in Morocco. So when you click on that, it zooms right in on it. So there it is, and it puts a little A icon there. And we need to make sure that we have added something to that, some symbol, so that we can identify it later so it doesn't go away if we look for other places. So what we do is right-click on City Fatima over here, and when it says Add Graphic down there, go to Add Graphic, and then it puts a graphic on there. Now, if we then grab this graphic and zoom in on it, you can see it just keeps scaling with that. So it might be good to be able to change this graphic. And to change the graphic, then we'd have to go to, I believe it's Edit, and then we would, let's see, we're on Select, and that's not helping us. Let me look again. What do we have here for that? We have okay, so we're going to go to the Graphics tab, and there we're going to take the graphic that's there and make it a little bit different so it's easier to see. Usually the tutorials will say to put a triangle in. They can be pretty easy to see. And then you can change the size of that triangle. So let's put in here 50. Oops, let's see if we can get that to go in here. 50. All right. And that's the size. It should be 50 points. I don't know why I didn't take that. Take those. Okay, so now it's substantially bigger, and we can see it better. And then we can clear the selection so that we just have that graphic in there. It really shows up wherever else we look in the map. Now, if that ever seems too big to you, then of course you can take that graphics layer and you can select it by making a rectangle around it, and you can select it, and then you can change the size accordingly and move it around. So you can manipulate that, and then you can clear that selection, and you have that dot that sort of scales with the map so you can see it. So what that graphics layer is going to be is it's going to be called City Fatima, and we should also name this now. We're not looking at a world topographic map. We're looking at Morocco and world hillshade. I don't know what world hillshade is. So we have that. So now, of course, you can look for a lot of different spots. If you want to see where this is in relationship to Marrakesh, then you can get Marrakesh. There it is. And you'll see Marrakesh is there. And we can add a graphic to that if we decide which one of these parts of Marrakesh. It looks like A is the center of Marrakesh. And with A being the center of Marrakesh, we then add a graphic to that. And once again, in graphics, pick perhaps a different symbol. We'll still make it a triangle, but maybe we'll make it a red triangle there. And decide how big you want it here. I think I'll just do 20 for that. And then that graphic is going to be, we'll clear that selection. And it's still on the same layer. So perhaps we really should call this layer not City Fatima, but call it locations on map or something like that. Because it contains, or should contain now, as we look around, it contains Marrakesh and it contains City Fatima. Right there and right there. Right. So yay for that. You can see when you unclick things, it's when you get different map layers on here. So this is the hill shade, and this is the, I guess maybe I didn't want to call that Morocco, because what that literally is information for the entire world. So let's just click on that again and just say world map layer. Okay, and there's my locations on the map, because I could have them all over the world if I wanted to. Alrighty, so zooming in there and continuing to zoom in there. We are seeing the topography in the world map layer, which is great. You can change that by going to map and saying your base map that you want. We'll use imagery or imagery hybrid. Let's look at the hybrid right now and see what that does. Hybrid gives you not just countries, but not just images, but gives you countries and roads, or at least some. You can change these as much as you like. So if I went just to imagery, you'll see that the regions disappear and it's just images. And you can change this on the fly. You can put a National Geographic style map in, and then you have all sorts of information like roads and stuff. And that map can come in. So really, you have the ability to change a lot of that. If I go back and I add imagery hybrid, of course, then I get the hybrid reference layer. So up to you. Maybe I'll start with a National Geographic style map, and later on I'll get into images. I would like to be able to actually add a layer, and I haven't. Oh, there was that. To add data. I'm not sure how you add more than one map, to tell you the truth. So let's just go to imagery for the time being. We'll figure out how we can add more later on. All right. And now with this image, we can zoom all the way into the village and start seeing some features there. Now, if I said I really would like to know, to create a shapefile knowing what parts of the image are relevant to my map, here's where it gets a little bit more interesting, because what we want to do is we want to add a data layer to this. If we go to add data to map, and we see that we have Living Atlas and GIS Online, If I go to Living Atlas, which is a database provided, and I type in Morocco, then we have country boundary and region and province boundaries. So let's add this layer in here to our map. And you can see when we open it up that if I change it to a black outline, which you can't really see too well with the black outline there, then I begin to get the regions of Morocco, which is similar to what we saw when we looked at the base map with the imagery hybrid, except that they had them in dotted lines, and instead we're using the imagery and we're putting the black lines on it. So that is really nice to have. So if we go back to the graphics here and we pick this graphic there, then the symbol can be changed a bit. And so we have our black outline. And that'll help a little bit if we want to go in and pick a different style. We could do colors and maybe make those Mars red. Let's see if that changes anything. It's in the catalog. No, apparently not. There are a bunch of things here. That's just going to show you the whole region, so we don't want that. Let's go back and just use the black outline. And then let's add another data layer when we go to map. And the data layer there will be the provinces. So once again, Morocco. And look at the province boundaries and add that. And that's in gray, a little harder to see. So once again, let's go into the province boundary and let's get that symbol to also be black. And then when we go to explore, that is the province there called Al-Haus. So we've got these little provinces that are identified, and you can see that where we're going to be working is in a province called Al-Haus, and it shows the population at 683,801, and it shows the area of the province in square kilometers is 6,014. That's if we're looking at the provinces. If we're just looking at the regions, then when we click on a whole region, we see, for example, that this is contained within Marrakesh Safi, and that region has 5 million people in it. It's with 2021, so a lot more now. There's 39,000 square kilometers. So you can turn these things on and off at will to be able to see them, and you can use the Explore function under Map, so Map Explore, to be able to click on stuff to get information from there, right? And if we want to get the location on map, then we would click here, and then we see that this is a polygon that was created that is telling us some information about that marker polygon that we have. All right, so now let's get into adding our own points. Okay, so what you do in to add features is you want to go, you're in map, you want to go to view, and you want to go to catalog pane, and you want to call the catalog pane up. There it came. If it doesn't show up, sometimes you can just go to reset panes for mapping, and the catalog may show up. Otherwise, you want to click on the catalog pane. Sometimes you'll find it in different places or different sizes. You can always go and dock it if you have a problem. But if you're having problems, the easiest thing to do is to go to Reset Panes and set it for mapping, or Reset Panes for editing. You've got all these different possibilities here. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to go to Reset Panes for mapping, the default, and then I'm going to bring this to the side. And in fact, if you click on it here and you see that it's turning there, you can also just go down to this weird icon that shows up that says where you're going to dock it. It's like a docking thing. So you grab on, start moving, and then you bring it into the docking thing, and then bang, it's docked, which makes it a lot easier. Now, I'm going to go to databases because I'm going to add features to the database. And the database that it created when we picked the High Atlas River is here. And I'm going to right-click on it, go to New, and say Feature Class. And I'm going to name this, I'll make one called Trees, because we're interested in doing agroforestry. So these will be trees or tree data points, however you want to write it yourself, tree data points. And then the feature class would be, of course, points. And there's no z-value information for 3D data. So we'll take that out. We're adding the output to the current map, and we say next. And we want to add a field here. And so the preferred way to do it, people will tell you, is to take this and say, all right, I want to click here. Why is it text? So I should be able to change this there. Change this to a short integer and then make something called field text and have that be there. But this could also be known as tree type. Tree type as text, and then this could be called tree ID, for example. And this we don't need, so delete that. And then you go to next again, and we're using the WGS 1984 Webcator map style. That's fine for that, and then we're not going to mess with tolerance, and we're going to accept whatever resolution they want, and we're going to use the default keyboard, and then we just go finish. And this creates a feature class for trees. Just let it do its thing, and then it adds that field, and it appears here in the layers. So when you have that, this enables you to go in and start adding individual tree points, data points. If you're mapping out the village, for example, and you say, oh, look at those trees, I want to map them out. So when you have that, if you want to add them, then you would go to Edit and Create. When you click on Create, the tree data point shows up under Feature Create. And then, because you're selecting that tree data point, you can now come in, and when you've clicked on it, you can draw in where you want to add a tree. So there's a point there, there's a point, 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 there's a point. So start adding whatever trees you want to identify, and you'll be able to create them in the database. Now, we do want to be able to make this a little bit bigger. So when we go to graphics, if I'm not mistaken, hold on, I could be mistaken about this. This is the tree type database part here. Feature layer, symbology, not that. Let me go back to map, and let me go to explore. Now here, of course, is where you get your database information, and you might say tree ID course, we're not in edit right now, so that's not going to help us. I'm just exploring it. Hold on a moment. Go into edit and modify. That's not helping. I do believe this would let you move the point, but that's not a point there. That's a point there that's on. So edit vertices. Give me a moment here. Hit that geometry. So if you want to see these points larger, because they seem pretty tiny, then what you do is you click on the, if you want the color to change, of course, you then right-click on the button and then pick whatever color you want. But green is fine for a tree. But if you want to make them bigger, you go to right-click on the tree data point and go to Symbology. And then over here under Symbology, you click on Symbol. And then you can pick whatever symbol seems to work for you. I don't know if they have a tree symbol. They might. Let's see. Yes, they do. Oak, pine. No, because you actually get that specific with it. But we'll try right now just a generic kind of tree for it. And even have 3D vegetation. Isn't that cool? But I'll pick a generic tree. So you've got generic trees there. And then having the generic tree, you should be able to go in and go to Properties, and then you can change how big the size of the tree is. And so we can say, okay, maybe 20 is a little better for that. And apply it, and then the trees become smaller, but they're identifiable as trees. So that's that's a nice feature that you have there. Now, you can also go in and go to your attribute table, and it opens up under here. So I right-clicked on tree data points, and now you can start to put in the different tree types. So when I click on any one of these, you'll see that, you should see, yeah, it starts to reflect in coloring those blue there. Sometimes it has a lag. So this first tree over there, I might say that this first tree is a pistachio, for example, and give the tree ID 1. And then looking here on the next one, we might say that that one is also a pistachio, if in fact it was, which it isn't. And here go and do the third tree and say that the third tree is an almond. And this would all be if they were actually doing agroforestry by the river, but these are probably ornamental trees. 1, 2, 3. And I wonder, because I haven't studied this too much, if you can put in here a different tree ID, and of course your object ID is something different. Maybe keep the pistachios there. So as we go on here, maybe this is a carob tree. And we'll go and make that a tree type 3. This is so good. And the next one would be also a carob. That's so good. Oops. And you can taste the fizz. And so on. So, and you can always do that later on. And you can come in here and you can add that information in here as well. So if I click on that one and I see it says number 6, then I can go to 6 and then put that and say ornamental, unknown, because you can always go back into the data set and change it later on. So this is the beautiful thing about the data. But you can start to label all of your trees in there. Now, what about the regions? So let me close this tree data points thing. And if I want to get the region of study that we're going to work, if it was this little riparian habitat here, then you would go here to tree data points, and you would go to attribute, table. No, not attribute table, excuse me. You would go to the database, right-click on it, and say New Feature Class, and name this the Area of Study. And then that could be a polygon. And then you might want no need for M values. So we'll just say that. We'll say area of study. We want to give it a area name. And once again, they're always saying that you should have IDs first. That's just the protocol. You don't have to do that. I'm going to do it though. Oops. Right. Okay, so in this field, I'm going to call this the area name and leave that text. And if I have other information, it might be that it is part of project, and you can have there a yes, no, or you could have raster. So we'll keep that for area name and a yes or no for that, and then we will go and say next, say next, say next, say next, and it says nothing. It won't let us finish. Why is that? Well, you'll find that there's a little warning on the very first page, 1 of 6, that says the finish button is currently disabled due to unsaved edits in one or more maps. If you want to save or discard those edits, and that's referring to the stuff we were doing with the trees. So say save, and then you will be allowed to finish and create your feature class. So now we have an area of study, which we can click on, and if we now go to the create in edit, then you will see you have an area of study, and you'll be able to create a polygon, and you have many different choices for that. So if my area of study extends from here, up here, through here, and let's see if I bring it down to there, and bring it down to, you can define, of course, what that area of study is going to look like. All right, and then once you have that, and we commit to it, it's bound there, and you of course now can change those looks as well. You can obviously click here and change the color of the area of study. You can go into graphics. Is it under graphics? Let me see. Or is it under edit? I thought it was under graphics. We should be able to get transparency on this. Let's find out when we leave create features. And in this area of study, let's go to symbology. We can have it be single symbol, or it can be unique values. There are no unique values here, so of course you're not going to see anything there. But if we did have it in different values, then they could change. So I like to have unique values just in case. And in terms of that transparency, feature layer, right there, it's under feature layer when we're on it, not under graphics and not under edit. It's under feature layer, and then we can make the transparency value, say 50%, and then we see the land through it. And we can do different blends as well. You can do screen, which sort of highlights what's underneath it. You can do lighten. You can do multiply. So if you want to be able to see it from a distance, these can sort of help. The overlay is just an overlay, soft light, vivid light, luminosity. So choose the one that you think will highlight. I think screen works pretty well. And then you have your area of study right there. And if I then go and open up the attribute table, then you can add to this that the area name ID is now 1. The area name is Riparian Town, for example.
They're so pretty. So now I'm gonna do my
Something like that. I don't know how it just added another polygon to me, so I'll get rid of that if I can. It's going to be row, delete row. All right, so we just have that one area there. And so area of study is now there to be highlighted. And so we've got the area of study, we've got some trees we've begun to look at, which is really great. And what about having the river described, how the river goes through it? Because there's the river right there. So if you want to do that, there's another feature class you can add. Once again, you would go to the database, right-click, say New Feature Class, and then name this riparian corridor. And it's not going to be a polygon, it's going to be a line. And we must commit here what we'd already done, so click on there. All right. So now this is going to have route data, so use M values, they say to do for route data for a line. It could be a road or river. And then since the rest is all the same, you can go through, but I do want to have a place for names, so I'll call this river ID, which will be a integer, and then I'm going to add a river name as text. And there's other information that we can put. I mean, we could put, it's a database. We could say pollution level, for example, or you could say species found, for example. And all that would then go into the database so that when you finish it, you have now a line feature called riparian corridor. And when you right-click on this, I'm sorry, not right-click on there. When you click on this here and you go to the Create button in Edit, then it'll ask you what you want to create. Are you going to create area of study, riparian corridor, or tree data points? We're doing riparian corridor, and then we can zoom in and begin to map out our river as a line feature. And you're doing all this because at some point you may not want to use the actual map, the imagery. You just want the features to be able to discuss. And so you want to draw out whatever you want to have data on. So that's probably fine for now. There it is. And so there's our river section that we want to do. And by having that river section there, and it looks like there's other canals in there too. That's a road. That's obviously a road. So you can manipulate that later on. But here then, riparian corridor, you would go into the attribute table and you call it like the river name is, and I don't know what it is in real life, but I'll say it's in City Fatma River till we know better. And then pollution level is high, and then species found. Snails, I mean, whatever it is. So you have the ability to start adding data to those parts of the map and to be able to turn the trees on and off. So there's the trees. I think it would be nice if we could get these trees to not be gray, but I don't know that we can, because I think that's just part of what the tree thing does. Yeah, I think color, you modify symbol color, it's locked. You have to change the symbol layer. And I'm not going to bother with that right now. But we got the trees, we got the riparian corridor, and we've got the area of study. Turn these off, and you just get back to your map. Close this up. But if we got rid of the map by unchecking the world imagery, then we'd see our trees are there, because we got the marker for the town. The trees are there, the riparian corridor is there, and the area of study is there. Why isn't that showing up? That's interesting. Color.
very pink. What color do you want yours
Why?
to be, Mercat? I want my soap to be green.
Enable scale-based sizing.
Now I'm going to do Mercat's green.
Well, now I don't know what happened to my layer.
The green soap right here.
Oh, imagery. It does show up there, obviously. And when I go to map and I go to explore, it certainly does come up and it says Riparian Town, but it doesn't show up when I format polygon symbol, uncommitted symbol formatting. You wish to apply it? Yes. Okay. But it doesn't show up unless the map is there. So I'm not sure why that is. Even if I move this up, move the area of study, maybe that's going to change it. Nope. Doesn't do it dark. Well, it does. Look at that. It makes the trees appear green. So I'm baffled by that, but maybe that's just the way this thing works. New to this. But this then gives you the ability to define several regions for areas of study. If you also wanted to come up here and get where this headwater is, or you wanted to get these mountain streams because this might be where contamination is running down, then you would go into the area of study and you would go back to the area of study area, and we would have to, let's see if we can create a new trace, create segments. So we might want to, it's not going to let me do that. There we go. So I'm going to start creating another area in here for my database. And there. So I have another piece of this. And in this area of study, if I open up my database, my attribute table, I should have a new row. And I want to make sure that I'm able to select this. So I'm in uncharted territory. I haven't done this before. Oops. Okay. So I created a feature. I apply it. And which polygon is this? So when I go to explore, I know I got that one there, Riparian Town. But what is this feature here? It doesn't seem to be. It's like I drew it, but I don't know what it is. And I think there's no data necessarily associated with it. So
look at that. There's a dinosaur in it and everything.
I know that that is that region. What is this region then, and where did it end up? That's the crazy thing. And I wonder if it's not better to create a new, to really just to add a new add to current map. Let me see. It's there. I would think that you'd probably want to, for area of study, or maybe I did it in the wrong place. Area of study. Yeah, I drew it in the riparian corridor, didn't I? And not in the area of study. So really what I should have done is I should have gone to area of study, and I should have from there gone to create a feature and then gone to area of study. Yeah, I've got two riparian corridors. That's why. So I should have gone to area of study and then drawn this map in here. Yeah, so now we're getting another area of study in here. So that was my bad. Alright, so there we go. And then it added another piece to the database, and I can put that into Riparian Town to the mountain stream, for example, and get this in area number 2. There we go. That's what we're trying to work on. And commit to that. So in my database, I can select between my Riparian Town and my mountain stream area. Close that up. Let me go to my riparian corridor that I'd messed up. Go to the attribute table. And I've got a snail's place, the river there, and I got this messy thing there that I'm going to get rid of. Delete that row. There it goes. And I'm going to get rid of this row. There we go. So now if I want to draw in the stream there, yes, I can do that. And I can do that by coming in here and finding riparian corridor. Not sure, it looks like I have two of them for some reason too. But I can draw in here a stream, and I think I'm back in the wrong thing again, so hold on. Cancel that. I'm in area of study, that's why. Get out of there, go to here, to area, to riparian corridor. There we go. And now come in and draw my river in there. Alright, so there's that little riparian corridor there, and it's come up here as an object, and I can call this river name mountain stream, and the pollution level is moderate, and species found, what was found? Trout. There were trout. There probably aren't any trout. All right. So now I have that piece of data in there, and I'm closer to then being able to start working in different areas. If I wanted to start putting in trees over here, then I would go to tree data points and come in here and then start adding various trees that are of relevance to my study, and then those will be added to the database, so you can have fun with that. And of course, when you then go to the trees data points and open up that attribute table, then you'll see a whole bunch more trees have been added in there, and then you can try to find out where, like that tree there, what is that? You can start adding your data to those trees there. Maybe this one is a loquat tree. That's very good. And maybe find an ID that you associate with loquat. So that enables you to start adding features. And of course, those features are editable. So when you go in and you go to modify, then if I was in not tree data points, but let me go to riparian corridor. So which one is this? There's that one. Yeah, somehow I've got riparian corridor in here twice, so I think I want to get rid of that one. Remove it. Alright, so now I have one riparian corridor thing, and if I then go to modify, I should be able to. Oh, I'm still in making trees, aren't I? What am I doing wrong? Riparian corridor, and we want to modify features, transform, but I'd have to select it. Links, I don't want links, that was a mess. New report, remove. What do we have going on here? Get rid of this. And so I don't know why these links are still there. Okay. So my question is, how do I modify not that, but just the riparian corridor? Maybe if I turn everything else off, and then I click on it, then then can I get in and modify it? No, it's just making a new one, and I don't want that. So how does one get out of that? Discard. You go to, there must be a way to select, and we select this.
Wow.
No. Click to see templates not listed. So it's not letting me select it.
And I'm going to do another one.
Oh, it was selected, was it? It is selected.
A rainbow of warm colors.
And then
so I'm going to use pink, orange,
split,
and yellow. I'm going
right
to
angle line,
this,
trace.
and I'm going to let it go. That looks cool. And now I'm going to do a little orange in it.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure how one modifies stuff. You'd say we edit vertices. But, there it goes. So it just is clicking on it and going to edit vertices. And now we can take this vertex and stretch it. And stretch it. And then you should be able to add vertices as well. Or can you? You add a vertex. Is this the add vertex? Yes. So add a vertex here, and then you can stretch that out like that. And you can add a vertex here and move that vertex. So you do have the ability to edit as much as you like. Right.
Wow! I had so
Add
much
more
fun
vertices and then commit by double clicking.
They are so pretty, and I want to hang them up on my wall now. I definitely think these are ready for baby dolls.
So yeah, you can go in and edit the contours of the river and then commit to it down here, and you're done with that. Same thing if you were coming here, you would go and you'd say, okay, I want that stretch of river. Is there any modification that I need to make in here? And if there is, like this sharp point there, then you would go to edit vertices and you would add a vertex here and maybe move it around. Go to add a vertex there and move stuff and then commit to it, and you've got those edits in there. All right, so we are getting closer to the point where we can usefully use this map to add certain information that we're given by feature. Now, if we want to add more data that comes in from the web, then we can go back to map and we can go to add data and add data to the map, and then check out ArcGIS Online, and in here type in Morocco, and you will see the province boundaries. We have the Al Haus West structures and buildings. So this is Al Haus where we're working, so let's see if that database gives us anything of value.
That's really blue. I'm so excited. Now it's time to mix it up.
I'm not seeing, oh, that's all way over here. Now that's because this is where the earthquake was. So it gives you an idea of data that's available for the earthquakes. And when I go to explore and I click on a data point, it just tells you structures. It doesn't tell you much, but there is data for that. We also have information in here. When I add data, we can find in here, again, let's see what Morocco brings up. Purchasing power per capita for all of Morocco. Let's put that in. And you get that data. It's always helpful to me, because these maps then get dominated by that layer, to go into the it's not imagery, is it edit? No, it's map image layer, the map image layer, and then come in and add about 50% transparency so that you can see, or maybe greater in this case, maybe 70%. Then you can see what the different data is giving you, and you see that in our area, the purchasing power is about 30,233 Moroccan dinars per capita, and it shows the index. And compare that with other areas, and you can see 7,000 there, and you then have this ability to explore the map based on different points, looking at what the purchasing power is. Obviously, this area here is a lot wealthier than this one here or this one here. It's only 7,000, 10,000. This one here, 30,000, our area, 30,000. So you can really get some cool information about stuff. If we're looking at biodiversity, and we just try to see what ArcGIS has, there are hot spots. We don't know if that is include Morocco, high value habitats. So you try stuff out as much as you can and see if there are high value habitats. And it appears that there are in there. Let me turn off the purchasing power, turn back on the high value habitat. Oh, no, not so much. Nothing that shows up that's evident. Not in our area. All right, so that is kind of a bust for us. Nothing really in there, so I can remove that. And just keep experimenting with different data layers. Let's see if there is a heat index, for example. So if we say climate, and we look at climate zones, that's North America, US, climate resilience and risk, it might have something, and it might not. So wait for it and see. And again, no climate data evident for our map in there. So that data will not help us. Let's try something else. Let's see about earthquake. Recent earthquakes. See if that gives us anything relevant to Morocco. Isn't that interesting? There's earthquake data all over the world, but they have not. They did add it. No, they didn't. There's nothing for Morocco in that database. So remove that. And you just have to keep experimenting for what you want to find in there. Again, I'll try Morocco and see if there's anything specific to Morocco earthquake population change. That should be interesting. So if it's labeled right, then you can find the data. There's population change because of the earthquake. Once again, I would go to the feature layer and make it about 60%, so you can see population change relative to that information, and then you can see here Moroccan earthquake information. And you just keep adding layer after layer after layer and turning them on and turning them off so that you can get some information for your area of study. Right. And one thing we had was a vegetation layer. If I add, let me go back to map, let me add, again in Morocco, purchasing power, roads, major attractions, geographical analysis, chemical facilities, education needs, that's pretty good, rural areas, the Amazigh areas. So pretty good stuff in here. Let's take a look at education. Of course, that's always a good one. And let's change the feature layer, put it at about 50%. And you can see that in terms of education needs, we're in the very high area. So the areas that we're exploring have high education needs, that's for sure. So I hope that's helpful to see that you can gather a lot of this data and add features to it, and it gets you started. And then we'll go back and look at how to clip areas out so that we can focus on just the parts of the map that we want to focus on and work with the data and do some feature analysis and some spatial analysis. All right, thanks a lot.